live, and the rest of it says I am alive. It's the weekend. At least it's the weekend for me. Does that make a big difference? No, not really, because a lot of the stuff I do during the week, I do on the weekend. Some stuff I don't. But I guess to today's reading, it's not really all that relevant. I just somehow find that this summer's been fascinating. Well, the summer's really just begun, hasn't it? The early summer. It's always summer here. Well, that's not true. Somebody once said that we have two seasons. We have summer and something else. And then that little cartoon thing that Reverend Lisa sent out the other day that said, yeah, stay hydrated and remain indoors from 11 a.m. until the 1st of November. As I mentioned the other day, I thought that kind of sums up our weather here. So we get winter here, but it's in short bursts. Further north and where I grew up, winter is months, but up here it's days, and then it's gone again, and then it comes again, which is okay, I think. Anyway, what about the reading? It's called Boldly Embody the Infinite. I'm changing some of this. I'm not reading it word for word. I'm not reading it verbatim because, as I said several times this week, I'm trying to make this apply to more than people involved in New Thought or Science of Mind. Boldly embody the infinite. Boldly embody the infinite. First quote is from someone that most of you have never ever heard of because it's from Star Wars. You probably heard the term Jedi. Well, think Jedi and a bit different. First quote is actually from A World Between Worlds, from Ahsoka Tano. She's kind of a Jedi, but not a Jedi. And the Jedis are the ones who believe in the Force, which is really parallel to what we believe in, right? Or at least what Science of Mind and New Thought believes in. In my experience, when you think you understand the Force, you realize just how little you know. And there really is a tremendous parallel between the Force in Star Wars and the infinite, the all, that we accept as the fact that brought everything into existence. Ernest Holmes in Ideas of Power says it a little bit differently. He says, for the only God you and I will ever know is the one that we embody. Never forget that. And that's in Ideas of Power, page 24, paragraph 3. So in other words, your experience of the divine is what you make of it personally, that you are an expression of the divine, but until you fully realize that, then you're kind of working your way towards it. You might say that you're working your way towards enlightenment. Enlightenment is when you realize exactly who and what you are. And this is from Reverend Ramon. He says, on a New York street corner, a reporter asks you to describe the deity. I'm going to substitute the deity for God. The text says God. Some of you are allergic to the word God, though. Let's use deity. What is the deity? Who is the deity? Where is the deity? Do you include yourself in the answer? Do you describe the deity as that out there and elsewhere? Holmes wrote, we believe that heaven is within us and that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. More about this shortly. To what degree are we conscious of it, considering that degree defines our experience? Are we living as though we truly believe what we teach, study, and practice? This applies to you whether you're part of Science of Mind or not, whether you're part of New Thoughts or not, whether you're a humanist or not. In other words, do you believe what, or do you practice really what you believe? For instance, most people would say they believe that everybody should be treated reasonably. It should be treated equally. But do we live up to that? A little bit more about it in a second. Carl Sagan, who I think you know, who was that wonderful, great astronomer, he said, The cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff. We are a way for the universe to know itself. Now, that's a direct quote from Carl Sagan, who was not really a religious person. Are we living as if we believe this? Do we believe this? Let's pause and breathe. So I'm going to come back to these things. The shirt, the shoes, and the underwear that we wore when we were 2 or 10 or even 15 years old are not the same ones that we were now, unless you happen to be at one of those ages at the time of reading this. And let's face it, if you were 2 and you were understanding this, then you're out way beyond my level. Just as we outgrow our clothing, so should we outgrow our concept of the deity. And as we outgrow one, we grow into another. With each new understanding, we experience a new embodiment of the divine. And with each new embodiment, a new degree of global evolution occurs if we actively live as this embodiment. I'm going to come back to this. Are you ready to upgrade and stretch your awareness, your understanding of, and your embodiment of the universe? So let's come back to this. First of all, come back to the Holmes quote where he says, "We believe that heaven is within us." This is no different than lots of famous religious and spiritual teachers have taught throughout the ages. In particular, Jesus, who said on not one but numerous occasions, "The kingdom of heaven is within you." He didn't say it's out there somewhere or it's up there somewhere and the other place being down there. No, he said the kingdom of heaven is within you. You need to look inside yourself for the answers. The ones actually who followed Jesus and proclaimed this were the Gnostics. Now, the Gnostics have got lots of other beliefs which are not exactly my cup of tea, as it were, but in this regard, the Gnostics believed that we had to look inside ourselves for the answers. And that's a simple way of looking at it. There's a lot more beyond that with the Gnostics, but essentially, they're the ones who actually got the message about looking inside ourselves for the answers. In fact, they said Jesus didn't come just to bail us out. Jesus came to tell us where to look for the answers. He didn't give us the answers, but he told us where to look for the answers. And then we get Carl Sagan, who, as I said, was not a spiritual, well, he's not a religious person at all. I don't know what his concept of the deity was, if any. But he says specifically, the cosmos, universe, the deity is within us, and we're made of star stuff. He says, and this is really the key to what Carl Sagan's saying. He says, we are a way for the universe to know itself. And that's exactly the same philosophy that Science of Mind promotes, that the deity knows itself through everything that it brought into being. And that's why it brought everything into being. And I'm really surprised that somebody like Carl Sagan, who I didn't think of as quasi-spiritual religious, would come out with this. And that really is at the crux of everything. We are a way for the universe to know itself. Let me have a look at the rest of it. And then Reverend Raymond goes on to say, just as we outgrow our clothing, we outgrow our concept of the deity. You know, when I was a kid, and even into my teens, maybe late teens, early 20s, my idea of the deity, of the divine, was of someone who was out there, physically in a place somewhere other than I am right now, who was always watching over me and was ready to reward me or zap me. Kind of like a super Zeus or Jupiter, if you prefer the Roman expression over the Greek one. This huge superhuman being. And as we grow in our spiritual understanding, we come to realize that that is not what the deity is. In fact, if the divine is everything there is, then it can't be separate from its creation, and that its creation must be within itself, and that it must be aware. In fact, it must have an awareness of itself. And as Carl Sagan says, that part of our purpose in being is to help this allness to know itself more fully, and in the process to know ourselves more fully, and to believe that if it's all there is, then we are expressions of it, and that its power is flowing through us, and that we can use this power anytime we want. And that's what we call, in Science of Mind, spiritual mind treatment. It means harnessing this power and using it. And in our case, we use it for good. Just like the Force in Star Wars, it can be used for good or ill. And it's amazing how Star Wars really is so similar to what New Thought promotes. I really don't have a whole lot more to say. I came on a bit early today because I've got to go out and do some errands. But I really do appreciate the fact that we have a teaching to offer the world. And we don't actually tell people what they have to believe. We offer concepts to you. And it's up to you whether you accept these concepts or not. But at least it's getting you thinking. And remember this, that Ernest Holmes, as we quoted not too long ago, he said he wanted his teaching to be open at the top. What does that mean? He's saying, I don't know everything. I've searched all this stuff in human experience, in different religions, different philosophies, and I've put this one philosophy together, which I call Science of Mind. But it's not everything. It's going to evolve and it's going to change. And you are the ones who are going to change it. I talked the other day to people in Science of Mind. You are Science of Mind. Why? Because it's an evolving concept and it will continue to evolve. Just as our idea of the creation of the universe and all these universal myths around the world, around this planet, have changed. If you read the Judeo-Christian Bible, to which Muslims also ascribe as well, you'll read about one concept of how everything came into being. And by our standards today, it's a primitive concept, but it worked for the people at the time. And as we've progressed, we've gone from believing, even in our fairly modern times, to the universe being in a steady state, i.e. never changing, to the universe expanding. And we came up with this theory about the Big Bang, that everything started from this Big Bang. Is that how things happen? We don't know, but it's our best concept of what there is now. Just as in our philosophy, it's the best concept we have for how we can use this power that is flowing through us. Will that change over time? Absolutely, it will change over time. Will our concept of the Big Bang or the universe and the Big Bang change over time? Of course it will, because these are all models of how things are. And because they're models, they're ever evolving. They're always evolving. So thanks very much for watching. The affirmation, he gave us two. Well, he gave us one, but it's two sentences. I split it in two. Today, I drink from and share from the overflow of my life. My consciousness of heaven is vast and ever expanding, and that's what I experience. In other words, as our concept of heaven, quote unquote, grows, we experience it differently. We experience life differently. That's really all I've got to say for today. I appreciate all of you watching. Reverend Lisa will be on again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. She's reading from the Science of Mind textbook. She read chapter 16 this morning. How do I know? Because I'm on a text thread that she sends out. And she said it was a phenomenal chapter. If you've got the Science of Mind textbook, like I have, then do what I'm going to do later in the day. I'm going to look up chapter 16 because Reverend Lisa was raving about it. The other thing you can do if you want is you can go to Creative Life Spiritual Center's Facebook page or YouTube, and you can actually look on there and you can hear her reading, her analysis of it, or do what I'm going to do, and that's just read it for yourself. But she will be back tomorrow morning reading more from the Science of Mind. I will be back tomorrow evening, and then I'll talk more about what's going on Sunday. I appreciate all of you who come. I hope you get something out of this. And if you do, please do two things. Give us a like and also pass it on. Because why keep a good secret to yourself? If a lot of this works for you and you like it, tell other people about it. Tell them in your own way. Tell them your views of it. You don't have to listen to what I say and believe everything I say. Listen to what I say, analyze it, and say, does this work for me? Does it not work for me? Do I need to modify it? Because that's what life's about. It's about learning. Every single one of us should be in the process of learning something every single day. And remember this, mistakes are okay, providing that you learn from them. The only way you ever grow in life is through mistakes, because it's a wonderful learning experience. So until next time, namaste.